I'm going to be sharing what I stopped doing that actually ended up attracting a relationship in my life. The beautiful moss here in the Pacific Northwest covering everything. So my desire and my hope is that by hearing my experience and understanding the dynamic that was going on in my life and what I did to actually change it, I hope that you can apply it in your life. If your experience is anything like mine, you really value relationships and you want to be in a relationship. And that's good. For me, I thought that if I could have a relationship, somebody in my life would matter more. And in fact, I'm recording this only 2 weeks away from Valentine's Day, which is another reason I wanted to record this, because there was a lot of panic that would set in when holidays like that would come up, because I felt I was supposed to have somebody by now. Something was wrong with me, and I needed to figure that out so that I could have my relationship. And until that time, and even like holidays would come up and I would feel insecure, I would feel uncomfortable because I felt like I wasn't good enough unless I was in the relationship. And we'll talk more about those dynamics and how that ultimately helped me and helped me to stop doing the thing that was blocking relationships. I just really want you to understand what was going on so that you can apply this information to your life, because my hope and my biggest goal for this video is that you can use some part of this, some part of my experience to apply to your life so that you can start breaking free, especially if you're finding a repeating pattern. Similar types of things, I would experience a very similar dynamic, completely different personalities. So if you are repeating a dynamic, and for me it was suffering, absolutely, I really want you to be able to use this to help you. Look how pretty this river is. I thought that if I had a relationship, my life would be better. It wasn't so much that I would be able to experience things with people, but I really felt that if I had this relationship, I would matter more, that I would be more valuable, because I was incomplete unless I had this person in my life who loved me, who would validate my existence to some degree. So I continued to find people. And as soon as I learned somebody maybe liked me, it's like I lost my mind. I would become hyper fixated on them. And it wasn't until hindsight did I actually wonder, did I actually like them? Because my mind would become so consumed that somebody liked me and a relationship had a possibility, and I would do everything I could to make it work. So I would find out what they liked, I would ask what they were doing, I would try to make them happy, I would try not to rock the boat, to not make them uncomfortable, because then I thought that they were going to leave me or they wouldn't be interested if I said my opinion and I made them upset. This could be called both codependent. I wasn't able to be me in fear that I would upset the other person, as well as people pleasing. I wasn't able to say no and be myself because I felt if I was myself, I would be rejected. So I continued to find people who were emotionally unavailable, who it was very hot and cold and on and off with. And I continued to work really hard and do my best and sacrifice and, go 90%. And sometimes they'd only go 10%, but it was okay because they gave me breadcrumbs and that meant they were still interested. And then I'd keep going and I could handle this. I could make it work. That was my mentality. But what I had to start understanding is what that energy was. And so the first part of this might actually sound funny, but I had to understand the dynamic of jealousy. And you might think, I'm not jealous. And maybe you say, yeah, I'm really jealous. I was really jealous. I'd get highly uptight if I thought anybody remotely was interested or coming too close, or if the person I was dating was looking at somebody for too long. It would be irrational. But what I really want you to understand is the real meaning of jelly. That's only one aspect. I think I just said jelly, but jealousy. The energy of jealousy is you're afraid you're going to be abandoned. You're afraid you're going to be left. And so you're either anxious, start getting really uncomfortable, start getting maybe paranoid like me, start comparing, start being in the energy of envy, start thinking about, when those people were coming up or close to the person I was dating, like, am I better than them? Am I more attractive? Are they more attractive? That's stemming and rooted in the fear of being abandoned. The other side of the coin is you start to become suspicious of somebody. I don't know about them. Are they playing with me? Are they toying with me? or you start to just become distrustful in general. So those 4 characteristics, you're afraid you're going to be abandoned, and you react by either being anxious, suspicious, distrusting, or you start to compare. If you're in that energy, what you got to understand is that you're actually self-rejecting. And again, we're going to go back to the fundamentals here, because people might be like, what the hell does this have to do with manifesting? Well, let's keep it real simple. Manifesting, all that means, it's nothing fancy. It's nothing special, although you can experience magical experiences in the simplicity of this. But manifestation, the etymology of the word, simply means to reveal to the eye what is invisible. So our beliefs about ourselves, our true expectation, what do we truly expect is going to happen? For me, what I really expected to happen was somebody would leave me, unless I went out of my way to prove that I was valuable. Since I fundamentally had a belief and a distortion about my worth, I thought that they would leave me unless I worked hard, unless I made them happy. So most of my actions were rooted in the fear of abandonment. And so when I looked out into a situation, when I was people pleasing, or when I was so fixated on their experience and their emotions and their happiness, who was I not considering in the entire experience? Myself. And so this hot and cold, this ghosting situation that I would experience sometimes, emotionally unavailable, what I needed to understand is how I was actually doing that to me. Not as a form of self-hatred, but I was ignorant to it because I was so afraid and wrapped up in the energy of jealousy that I ghosted myself. I wasn't emotionally available to me and what I needed in those moments because I was fixated on them. So I left me energetically. I was so afraid of the thought that they would leave me that I rejected myself in that assumption alone. And I cannot stress enough how becoming aware of all the impulses to self-abandon by either assuming somebody's not interested and they're going to abandon, literally energetically abandoning myself by thinking about what they would need and want because I didn't feel good enough on my own. That is rejecting myself. That is self-abandonment. That energy, again, going off of manifestation, you are going to get a reflection of not what you want, not what you hope for, but who you are being. The thoughts and the feelings, even at the subconscious, unconscious level. That is what you got to get clear on, because when I did this and I stopped self-rejecting, I got out of the energy of jealousy, and this comes through ABC, becoming aware of it. Oh man, I feel that if I don't go and make this person happy right now, or go out of my way to get their attention, send them a text, hey, do you still like me? Desperation and self-rejection. I feel like I'm not good enough and I want you to validate me so I feel better. There's no shame or blame or terrible. It doesn't make you a terrible person, but it does make you in the energy of self-abandonment. And what do you get a reflection of? Who you are being. You're being self-abandoning. So you're going to find people, you're going to attract people, and people who are emotionally unavailable will feel familiar until you start breaking this habit. ABC, awareness. Okay, I'm afraid. And Dr. Dan Siegel says you name it to tame it. You start feeling anxious. I started feeling anxious all the time. I feel like I haven't heard from them. And I'm afraid that if I don't send a text and if I don't hear back from them, they're going to leave me. Okay, I'm using my left brain, analytical brain, to help my right side, my amygdala in there, who's freaking out because of probably a past experience where maybe maybe an adult caretaker was emotionally unavailable and you perceived your needs as not being able to be met. So you felt powerless. So starting to name it, to tame it so that you can become aware of it, breathe, regulate your nervous system so you don't respond from that past experience, and start to make a new choice. Use your willpower to step out of that dynamic over and over and over again. This is what I did. The polarity, the opposite energy of jealousy is actually duty. How can you take care of yourself right now? What is it that you need? A lot of this is going to be name it to tame it, to start to regulate, because a lot of my energy was so focused on that person because I thought if they loved me, then I would feel like I'm worthy. But that was something, a wound that I had to heal within myself. No one outside of me could ever make me feel or change my mind about how I thought of me. I had to re-reason on events that happened and the meaning and interpretation of why they happened. When I started doing that, I wasn't dependent on somebody liking or loving me. I loved and accepted myself, and therefore, because that's who I was was being, I started getting reflections of that in relationships. And as I did this more and more and more, and literally changed how I viewed myself, my automatic impulses, and learned to do my ABCs, learn to name it and tame it, I, at an energetic level, changed vibrationally to an entire different level of being. Stopping that old level of self-abandonment and being so fixated on getting that person to approve of me so I'll be okay. That's outsourcing your authority, being stuck in childhood dynamics. But realizing, oh, the reason I'm so needy right now is because I'm afraid. And I think that if this person loves me, accepts me, if I get that text, then I'll be okay. But really, I need to do some inner work. I need to have compassionate inquiry, as Gabor Mate would say, and start becoming aware of who I am and what's going on. The more you do that, the less it'll be about that other person. And for me, I had to realize I was being really manipulative. I wanted that person to come over here and make me feel better, even though I did want a relationship as well and experience life with somebody. But part of so much of what I was so desperate about was because there were things that I needed to take responsibility of. I needed to start healing. And when I started to do that and ease the pressure and demand that that person had and the reason I needed them, it started to come back and I started to be more in myself. And I was able to attract somebody who was in their selves, where we can have a secure, loving relationship that's stable and not dependent on either person, but having an interdependent relationship. Who I was being would never been able to be in the energy of this relationship because there was too much self-rejection. That energy and all those perceptions, literally you could have an emotional available person, but you perceive different things. You constantly are thinking, oh, they don't like me. Oh, they're going to leave me. Maybe I need to do this and then they'll love me. You'll live in that hallucination, which is the best name for my experience. I was literally in my own world with stuff. But as you start to become aware of it, you can start to make new choices, start to calm your nervous system. And another thing too is to have a regular practice of meditation or simply spending 10 minutes a day focusing only on your breath. Thoughts can come in, they can go. Focus on your breath. How can you help to regulate your nervous system? How can you take responsibility and do your duty to keep yourself safe, to start taking care and considering your experience? The more you do that, the more you'll get emotionally available people, because you're starting to be emotionally available to yourself, taking care of yourself, considering your experience. And you'll find people and you'll magnetize, because remember, one of the strongest things you can do in terms of consciously creating or manifesting a new life is your feelings. Your feelings are your magnets, not just the one you barely focus on, but the more you can make those feelings your dominant feeling, the more you have that magnet on for those people who are considerate, emotionally available, kind, and loving to you as you are, loving and accepting you as you are now. The more you do that to yourself first, remember, we are the cause and the effect is our outside world. The more you realize your inner change literally changes your perceptions, because you see your reality through your mind, and your mind was heavily formed through the interpersonal relationships from your childhood. And as you become aware of those impulses, you step out of them by using your willpower there. You learn to start to perceive of new things, start to create a new story, start to live and be that new version of you now, and attract the love and the relationships that you really deserve to experience in this life. If sometimes you feel a little bit too needy, this next video right here is going to help you understand what's going on and how to shift out of it. Thank you so much for watching. I love y'all. If you like the video, click like. If you haven't done so, join the community, and I will see you on the next one.